This is a group of business leaders. The business case has been proven.
Yeah.
Case closed, okay? McKinsey, KPMG, so many organizations have proven that diverse organizations, diverse boards, diverse management teams are more successful. They build better products and services, they're more profitable. I think what we need to do is go deeper on, if we're all rational beings and get that, why is the needle not moving? Why are less than 1% of black female founders getting funding from VCs? What are the root causes of the problem? Thank you.
When you look around the board table, you've got a predominance of men around the board table making decisions on a daily basis. And in terms of who can really drive change, it's those who are making those decisions. So it's important that, and we've had conversations about this, it's important that those who are making those decisions in the first instance have an understanding of why diversity, equity, and inclusion is important. They need to have an understanding of this. And going back to Russ's point about we know the benefits for our organisation, so why isn't this moving forward? I think that people don't have a full understanding of what these benefits really are, and that we allow, those at the top, allow the fact that they feel threatened to prevent their companies from progressing. So what we do need in the first instance is that understanding at the top table of what the real benefits are. When that happens, then it can start from the top down in terms of the culture around the organizations.
What's going on in the boardroom? What is the CEO of the company doing to really walk the talk? And I'm going to be very honest with all of you, there's too much talking the talk going on. There's too much BS from the people that I've met. When you look at their reports on diversity, when you look at this, you look at that, it's like, who is really driving the change? And I do really believe it has to come from the CEO, empowered by the board, so that she or he is seen by the rest of the organization as really believing in the diversity and inclusion agenda. You know what? We all believe this, or we think we believe this, but it's not happening. You know, I'm sure all of you have been on these panels for a while. We've got to move the needle. Why is it not happening? Is it because white men feel threatened in the boardroom to bring more women or more people of color or people with disabilities into the leadership of the organization? We know the business case says it's very different. So these are some of the things that we have to look at. And there are organizations, and I always say to people, I don't think this is rocket science. It's about, you know, employee acquisition and employee retention. And, you know, I like to say, look, if you're out there and you're building a product or service, or you've missed your financial metrics, there's going to be an audit of what went wrong. If you haven't met your D&I numbers, is there that equivalent audit? You know, are we really taking this seriously? So, you know, you're probably sensing a little bit of frustration here, but it is, I don't think it's time to be nice about this anymore. We're missing out too much, and those companies that are embracing it, who understand this, are the ones who are going to succeed, and good on them. Let's put them up on a pedestal and say, look what they've done. But I'm not also afraid to name and shame those companies who are just doing this.
I think COVID, the last 2 years, have given us some real positives in terms of the workplace, particularly in my sector. We are part of a world, an industry that required presenteeism. You had to be in the office. It was very much about working long hours. There was also a lot of travel and overseas visits in order to work on projects. And literally overnight, obviously, all of that stopped. And what we saw was the ability for the industry to continue to function, and function actually very efficiently and effectively from home. And that enabled large sections of the workforce to actually engage more, because there wasn't this requirement to be in the office, to work very long hours, to travel. And so what we have seen is that ability for women in particular to take on roles within the companies that perhaps previously they wouldn't have been able to do, but also people that perhaps have caring responsibilities or health issues to also engage. And that's been very positive. My concerns now are we're coming out of COVID, we're moving back into a situation where people are returning to the office. We need to ensure we don't switch off that pipeline. We need to provide that flexibility. We need to offer the opportunities to that wide diversity of employee to engage and participate.
I recently advised the Recruitment and Employment Confederation of the UK on a toolkit in terms of removing bias in a lot of these AI-driven screening tools that many companies here probably use as well. And actually some of the companies I managed to interview was actually using some of these AI tools to promote diverse candidates. So the worry with these tools have been traditionally, the classic case was, I think, Amazon a few years ago, was they had to drop this project where they found that they just couldn't, like the AI CV screening tool were just not recommending women CVs. And actually even men's CVs that mentioned that they had something to do with women were excluded in the first round of the AI screening tool. So there's been a lot of concerns in the recruitment industry regarding, obviously, the bias that has worked against disadvantaged groups in the past. But I think what's really positive is that AI can be used for the good. And some companies are experimenting with AI tools that are actually screening for, I guess, keywords or experiences that are linked to someone with a more diverse profile. So I think that's a really great initiative that Tech for Good can bring to this important agenda.
And I think this is a really important question. How can men play an active role in helping women, and also people from all sorts of backgrounds, be more supported?
I think one of the things when we talk about diversity and inclusion, we often forget about the men as well. Yeah. And actually we find that we spend a lot of time focusing on initiatives for the minorities, and we put things in place that often don't include the men. And one of the things that we have seen again over COVID, men have had that opportunity to have flexibility, to spend time with their families, and again, they want that. So I think it's about inclusivity, it's about the whole workforce, and making everybody feel that it's okay to have that flexibility.
There needs to be some research done around perception and stereotypes as well. I mean, just a very, very quick story. I mean, I was at another event in the lifts on the way down, and a founder, female founder, got a text from a broker trying to sort out the VC for her. And in the text, which we read, said, sorry, they wouldn't give you money because you're of childbearing age.
Oh my God.
Can I just leave it there?
I often say men have an equal and probably an even greater role in this whole D&I journey to get the numbers back to what you were saying. Let's be reflective of the population. It's going to be a painful journey. Men and white men are probably going to lose out over time, but overall, that will benefit society, that will benefit many of these businesses. There are tough decisions that need to be made. There are tough policies that need to be made, but we've been talking about this. I get frustrated in the tech sector. It's a sector that's 80% white men. And we did a survey of our community. The good news is people feel like companies are trying harder than they were 5 years ago, but don't kid yourselves.
Yeah.
The needle has not moved for many years. And we might be here in another 5 or 10 years having the same discussion. That would be a travesty, but to the men in the room, you have a big role to play. You may not realize it, but you really do. And you can make such a big difference. Thank you.